All right, welcome. The intention of this practice is to create a little bit of brightness to a winter day from the inside out. So the sequence that I have in mind is intended to release areas of our body that can tend to feel stiff and a little bit lethargic on these shorter days and cooler days when perhaps we're spending a little bit more time inside. And we're working our way up to what is intended to be an enlivening meditation. So the intention is to start seated just for a moment, just so we can center, and then we'll start our warm up on our backs. So we're not here for long, but I invite you to either close down the eyes or turn the gaze within in a way that works for you. To take the deepest breath that you have taken all day long in through your nose, and at the same time lift your shoulders high, and then draw your shoulders back, down, and two more. Inhale. You might retain that inhale gently at the top as the shoulders are lifted, and then long exhale as shoulders come way back and down. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another. Last time. Hold that breath, maybe gently, and then long exhalation. Squeeze the shoulder blades together and then lower, palms up. If that's okay, pause. And imagine that you are receiving more of what brings you peace and gratitude. So there might be something that you love to do in your life, or something that you know is coming up in your day that brings you a sense of contentment. And as you inhale, consider being able to receive more of that. Or maybe it's just being able to take this time for practice, for movement, for breath, time for yourself. And the intention is that you will really foster presence so that you can fully receive the gifts of this time, of this movement that is appropriate for you, that you will receive your breath. Remember to breathe, just knowing how much brighter we can feel when we're breathing fully and completely. But this moment, the invitation is about receiving what creates that sense of brightness within you. Take a moment for two more very intentional inhalations, as if you could bring in what wants to be received into the entire body. Beautiful. And let's let go of legs and arms. I'll just change my view. Legs and arms out in front of you, and help yourself come all the way down onto your mat. And then if it's okay, legs and arms up in the air. You can bend the knees as much as you need to. Let's make circles with our wrists and ankles. Let the breath be smooth, and then switch directions. Comfortable range of motion, but a full range of motion for both ankles and both wrists. Now next we'll warm up knees and elbows, and I have options for you. So option might be that arms come to your sides, and you might tuck the hands underneath your outer hips as you bend and straighten the knees. So that's option number one. Just check in with your neck here, that the neck is long, that you have a neutral chin. Sometimes it's nice to have something supporting the back of the head so you do feel like the back of the neck is long. If it feels okay, we might add the arms as well. So arms back up, and as you bend the knees, perhaps we bend the elbows towards the knees. And then as you straighten, maybe you straighten the arms either straight up, maybe above the head, and you might even angle the legs a little bit so you feel it in the core, firm that abdominal wall. So exhale, knees and elbows bend, and inhale, straighten either straight up or maybe on a little bit of an angle, a little bit more for the abdominals. No right or wrong. Just right for you in this moment, because it's part of what you're receiving. What movement allows you to breathe completely. And the next time you bend the knees, hug the knees in and pause. Let's rock from side to side. See what that feels like. Massaging the back line of the body. From shoulder to shoulder, from side waist to side waist, low back, hip to hip. And the invitation is to keep the rocking going, but this time with feet on the ground. So place your feet mat distance apart, open up the arms, and let's shift the knees from side to side. And then option to turn the head in the opposite direction of the knees. Through center. Let yourself continue to foster that awareness and presence and noticing how the body is shifting from side to side, noticing how the feet are rolling from side to side, how the head might be rolling from side to side. A lot to notice there. And then back to center, receive, arms outstretched, palms open. Big breath in, let the navel rise, long breath out. Adjust the feet so the ankles are underneath your knees, feet are parallel. Reach the arms to the degree that it's comfortable for you above the head. Let's move through some flowing bridges. Root down into the feet as you exhale. Lift the hips, maybe just an inch or two. Squeeze the glutes so the muscles around those sits bones. And then inhale, slowly lower the hips and reach the arms with your breath. Now we're starting to match movement and breath. A nice way that we can create focus and stay present, stay with our bodies and our breath. As you lift the hips, you might feel the abdominal wall engage. It's a nice place to just imagine hip points hugging towards one another. Next time you reach the arms, pause and reach the arms a little bit more intentionally. Big stretch, maybe full body stretch, maybe lengthen out the legs and reach the fingertips away from the toes. Reach, 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 reach. And then hug the knees in one more time. And if it works for your body, my invitation is a rocking and rolling up to seated. If rocking and rolling is for any reason not for you, just know that we'll be coming up to a seat on the mat and set yourself up in a way that serves you. But you might enjoy several rounds. This is a nice morning practice. You're staying away from the back of the head and the back of the neck, breathing, let the face be soft. Feel how the center of you, your abdominals, are supporting this. And then eventually you'll come up to sit at the top of your mat. I'll just move my orientation here so you can see me. And a few more movements seated, but pause once again with palms open. Big breath in. Long, slow breath out. And notice if anything's changed. After that bit of movement, does the breath feel easier and bigger, almost as if, and this is one of my favorite descriptors. I heard a teacher say it long ago. Does it feel like you could breathe the inner body bright, the inner you bright, as you inhale through the nose? And if there is a sense of more brightness, a sense of enlivening here, might you receive more of that? Might you soak that up and drink that in with palms up in this expression of receptivity? Seated movements. Inhale, reach the arms wide. As you exhale, I invite you to round the spine and bend the elbows, stack the hands at the center of the chest. And as you inhale, open up, maybe chin up slightly. Exhale, firm the abdominal wall, draw it back, stack the hands at the heart. Inhale, open. Keep the spine long, and the next time you bring the hands to center, keep them there, but touch every fingertip and thumb tip. Draw the abdominal wall back and up, lengthen, chin, ears, and shoulders back. And then I invite you to simply twist just from the mid-torso. It might not be a big range of motion. Take the head with you. Lots for the abdominals here. But working on mobility for the upper back. We'll be tending to that through our movement today. Tending to upper back mobility, stretching the front line of the body, strengthening back line of the body, freeing our shoulders. In this 60-minute movement and meditation for the morning to brighten the day. Back to center, interlace the hands and squeeze. And then send the interlaced palms away from you, up to the degree that that works for you. Bend the elbows, squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another. That's your exhale, and then back to your clasp. Inhale, press the palms forward and up. Exhale, bend the elbows, squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another, back to a clasp. 2 more with your breath. Good. Back to center. Just join the hands. Feel and breathe. Now I'm inviting us to work from a tabletop for several moments now. So if it will feel better to have some kind of cushioning underneath your knee, I invite you to grab that, a folded blanket, a thin pillow, as we come to all fours in your time. And you know that if it's a lot for the wrists to be on flat hands, you can come to finger tops or fists or forearms at any time. But easier on the wrists if you really use the strength of your hands. Spread the fingers, claw into the mat, and then without moving the hands, use the action of dialing them away from one another and firming up the arms. Lift the chin and the ears and the front body away from the ground, and then keeping the right knee bent, lift the right leg like you're stamping your foot on the ceiling, back to center, and then open up the right hip and back to center. So there we go. The right foot is firm. Feel that at the back line of the leg. Come back to center, and then if it's okay, you're opening up. Avoid letting the head hang. Keep drawing the low belly in. And keep your shoulder blades plugged on those upper back ribs. Imagine the movement of the leg coming from the core as you squeeze the knee back to center. Next time the foot is facing the ceiling, straighten that leg here, pulse for a few rounds, zip up between pubic bone and navel. So really feel that action there. And then lower the right ball mound down, come to your forearms. That might be a lot for the wrists. And send the heel back and forward, more warming for ankles and toes, and really stretching the connective tissue at the sole of the foot and the back line of the leg. If you're on your forearms, adjust them so that they're parallel with one another, elbows underneath shoulders. Interlace the hands, step both of your feet back to a forearm plank. Have forearms pressing forward, heels pressing back, front body lifting to back body. And then let's slowly come to the knees and lower down to a Sphinx pose, but the forearms can be further out in front of you if it's too much for your low back to have your elbows directly underneath your shoulders. Press your forearms away from one another. Notice how that makes it easier to draw the shoulders back, and then feel the stretch of the front line of the body. This may be plenty, or I've got invitation here for some core work from this prone position. And that invitation is from the knees here. Firm the abdominal wall a lot, and then lift maybe the abdomen. So you're coming up to the knees and then slowly lower and then shoulders back. So you're making a bit of a wave-like motion with your breath. Press your forearms down and forward, maybe lifting up the core by engaging core muscles so much, and then lower back down, shoulders back, head lifts. Press the forearms forward, lift, coming up to the knees and back down. Shoulders back. Couple more rounds maybe. Last one. Let's come down, anchor the tops of the feet, slide the arms by your sides, palms face down, lengthen the toes and the tailbone away from the crown of the head, stretch your body longer, and then lift the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another, and maybe lift the legs just a couple of inches from the inner upper thigh so that the pinky toes revolve towards the ground. Lengthen. Breathe. And then pause. Make a pillow for your forehead with stacked hands. Pause in this prone position with your breath. Biggest breath in and out. And receiving through that inhale. Mind knows a little bit about where we're going now, so the invitation is to come back up to that tabletop and we'll explore that sequence on the second side. So set yourself up so that you feel stable. The wrists feel supported because you're using the muscles of your hands, dialing the hands away from you, lifting face and abdomen away from the ground, and then lift left leg. Knee is bent like the left foot, could step on the ceiling. Back through center, squeeze it in, and left hip open. Find a little rhythm that works for you, where you feel like you're counting on your core. Relax the face, keep the breath flowing. Next time the left leg is lifted, straighten it out, few pulses. The front body to back body. Then lower the left ball mound down, come to forearms that are parallel, shift forward and back. Maybe step back to your forearm plank. Knees can stay down. Forearms press forward. Heels press back. Shoulder blades connected. Breathe. Slowly come all the way down to a Sphinx pose. Make that work for you. Elbows a bit narrower than you think. Forearms press away from one another. Shoulders back. Chest forward, core engaged and tailbone long. That may be enough. If you want a little bit more, peel the core away from the ground, come back up, and then inhale, shoulders back for our little wave-like sphinxes here. And then lower the body all the way down, arms long next to your body, palms face down, forehead to the mat. And then when it's okay, if it's okay, lift the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another. Core is strong. Maybe lift the legs from the inner upper thighs. Pinky toes spiral towards one another. Lift arms, lift legs, back of the neck is long, and you're really again, lengthening tailbone away from crown of the head. Big breaths. And lower. Breathe in and out. Inhale to come back up through a table, adding on a little bit here. Start with your tabletop posture, so set it up so it works for you. From the core, lift the right leg back behind you. Hug both arms and legs into the midline. Draw the right knee in. Lift the front body to back body. So you're really rounding the spine. Make space. And then send the right foot forward. Grab the ankle if you need to. So you come into a low lunge. Let's use blocks or books here for where we're going. Front hip back, back hip forward. You can You can maybe take a block underneath the left arm. Where am I going here? Yeah. Firm the abdominal wall and then twist open just from the mid-torso with the right arm, chin, ears, shoulders back, and exhale. See if it's okay to thread the right arm underneath the right leg. Inhale, open, core is engaged, and just from the mid-torso, twisting from that really strong core, hips and legs aren't moving. Good. The next time you come down, hands find both blocks if you're using them. You can move the back knee back slightly, invitation to straighten that front leg. Keep hugging front hip back, and then we'll pulse between a low lunge and more of this runner's lunge, continually to isometrically slide that front heel back so the front hip moves back. See if you can feel the spine lengthening, so it's like the navel could lengthen to the chest, shoulders back. With your breath. Now, next time you come to your low lunge, you might want something underneath that left knee. Invitation to pivot out the left foot like a kickstand. Plant the left hand and come into a bit of a variation of your side plank. The right foot can stay down, and maybe we just find a big top side of the body opening here. So full stretch for the right side. Maybe we reach, but we're not collapsing into that low shoulder joint, please. Ears and chin and front ribs and abdomen back. But maybe you reach the top arm away from the top heel. Stretch. Palm face down. Again, shoulder, ribs, abdomen back. Make this work for you, lifting the bottom side of the body away from the ground. And then come on back and let's open up the knees a little bit wider, touch the big toes and sink the hips. Rest your forehead on something, breathe. Working with receiving might mean arms out in front of you, forehead to the ground and palms up. Second side, firm the abdominal wall as you come up to your tabletop. From core strength, send the left leg back behind you. Hug arms and legs to midline. Feel that lift of front body to back body. Draw the left knee in. Lift, 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 lift. Make lots of space to help the left foot forward. Right hand to block here. Front hip back. Core is strong, preparing to open up the left arm, chin and shoulders back, and exhale, wrap. Open. Core is strong, thread the needle. Next time you come down, maybe something underneath the right knee as you pivot the right foot out like a kickstand. Send the left leg back. Left foot might find the ground. And just find your variation here. You want to be lengthening the tailbone and drawing the waistline back. We don't want to be hanging the head forward. And we don't want to be collapsing into that low shoulder joint. So find a lift. And then just from there, I just invite you to play. Just explore what's feeling best for you. Where you can breathe fully. And then let's come down eventually. Knees a bit wider, big toes come to touch. Forehead finds rest on something, maybe arms out in front of you. Feel the back body expand and release with this breath, breathing inner, body bright. You could stay right here, or time for first downward facing dog of our practice. Reach the hands out in front of you, plant those hands strongly, press the hands down and forward. And if you're lifting the hips, bend the knees a lot first and focus on stretching the hips back. Root down into the index finger knuckle. You're firm around those elbows. And then lift the ribs away from the ground, but keep bending the knees and keep sending your hips straight back. Long breath. Coming up and down if you need to, pedaling out the feet if you want to. At the end of your next exhalation, firm the abdominal wall, step the feet forward, top of the yoga mat, bend the knees a lot as you come to your forward fold. Root down the feet parallel, press the feet away from one another. Feel the strength of the legs, hands to the hips, elbows skyward, root down to rise up. When you come up, take the arms with you. And then lower the arms by your sides. Couple of invitations here. Inhale, reach the arms, and maybe at the same time, come up to the tiptoes, maybe. Tailbone long, waistline back, and then lower the heels and lower the arms. 2 more, maybe. Next time you reach the arms, keep the arms lifting even as the heels come down. Keep pressing the feet away from one another. Hook the thumbs together. Reach your arms tall. Press your feet away from your fingers. Get as tall as you can. Chin, ribs, abdomen, back, and then up and over. Side stretch to the right. Equal weight in both of your feet. Keep pressing feet away from one another. Back to center. Waistline draws back, up and over. Side stretch left. Couple more times here. Back through center, make a big deal out of lengthening, and then up and over, good. One more time each side. Lengthen first, up and over. Back through center, bend the knees quite a bit, hinge at the hip creases and fold. Inhale, halfway rise, plant those hands, step back to a plank position. Press yourself away from the ground. Lifting the face, lifting front body. If the knees are lifted, thighs are engaged, but knees can be down, absolutely. Press yourself away from the floor, relax the face, and then without moving the hands, they dial away from one another, elbows close as you lower. Anchor the tops of the feet, the pubic bone area light on the fingertips. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another and then slowly lower, tuck the toes. You decide, will it be hips down, hips level, or hips high here? Stretch the hips away from your wrists while using the muscles of your hands here. Feel like you're creating more space between each individual vertebra, between each individual rib, and lift the ribs away from the ground. Feel the abdominals working there. Long breath. Inhales, opportunities for receptivity. Receiving now, fostering that presence. And then let's come back up to top mat. Halfway rise when you get there with that inhale, exhale, crisp hinge at the hip creases, fold, root down, rise up. Take the arms with you. Good, and then arms by your sides. Pause here, palms open, feel. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel sensations in and on and around the body. Receiving. Breathing inner body bright. Check that the feet are parallel, about sits bones distant apart. Press the feet away from one another. Reach the arms. Bend the knees without caving them in towards one another. So both feet and knees continue to press away from one another. Lower the arms down and back. Root down, squeeze the glutes, and reach. So all of that a few more times. Bend the knees, squeeze the glutes, muscles around sits bones. Arms swing back, down, and up. Keep pressing feet and knees away from one another. Last time, invitation to hold this chair. Maybe hands come together at center. Feeling the muscles working around sits bones. Feeling feet pressing away from one another. I lift my toes sometimes to help support the knees. Draw the waistline back. Really lengthen the spine. Relax the shoulders and face. And then root down, rise up, pause, big breaths in and out. Good. You might hold on to something here. We're coming to stand on the left foot. So lift and spread left toes, create a stable base for that left foot. Micro bend in the left knee. Start by coming up to a kickstand with the right toes. That might be enough. Lengthen the crown of the head, shoulders back. So just practicing with balance. Option number 2, we might bend the right knee, firm the right foot, kicking right heel towards hip. Hamstring strengthening, come up and down if you need to. Option number 3, there's no better or worse. You might reach for the top of the foot or the ankle, kicking foot into hand, hand into foot. Tailbone is long, waistline draws back, and then grow tall. Reach the crown of your head. Breathe. Stable, steady gaze on something that isn't moving, important. Relaxed expression. In and out is fine. Eventually, we'll send that lifted right foot back to reach for the back edge of the mat and find your upright crescent lunge here. Open up the stance if you need to. Front hip back, back hip forward, squeezing those legs towards one another as the waistline draws back. Eventually, if it's okay, reach the arms and then lower the arms down and back. Reach the arms. You might straighten the legs. And then as you bend the front knee, power up the back leg, lower the arms down and back. With your breath. And the next time to bend the front knee, reach the arms back, palms face forward, receptive hands. So ears and chin and ribs and abdomen drawing back, powerful back leg. We're opening up the front body, and maybe there's an interlace, but there doesn't have to be. Still getting a wonderful stretch. Just sending the shoulders and the arms back, staying connected to your core. Again, like you could lift pubic bone up to navel. Keep breathing. Reach the arms. Invitation for a little flow between sides. So maybe coming down to your runner's lunge, maybe stepping both feet back. It could be to a down dog. It could be to a plank if you feel like lowering down between sides, finding either a chaturanga and an up dog, or lowering down, finding your cobra. And then you decide hips down, hips level, or hips high. Super long spine in this upside down letter V, lifting front body away from the floor. And let's find that second side. Come to top mat. Halfway rise when you get there. Find length, hinge and bow. Root down to rise up, arms wide and high. Good. Arms by your sides. Find weight over on the right leg. Support yourself with something as you make your choice. Is it kickstand with the left toes? Is it bending the left knee while keeping tailbone long and waistline back? Or is there a catching of the foot, squaring of the torso to top mat? Still, steady, calm, drishti gaze. Relax face. If you've got the foot, really kicking foot into hand, hand into foot, and staying connected to the core. Lengthen. When you feel ready, we're taking a big step back with that left foot, reaching for the back edge of the mat. Find your upright crescent lunge, set it up. Open up the stance a little bit wider, tailbone long, waistline back. Reach the arms as you're ready, and then lower the arms down and back. Inhale, you might straighten the legs and the arms. Bend and lower, good. Relax your front toes, relax your face. Strong back leg. And maybe the next time that front knee is bent, arms reach open, full expression of receptivity here. What are you receiving? Chin, ribs, waistline back, powerful back leg. Maybe an interlace, maybe not. Reach high. Last time, frame the front foot with your hands, step back, maybe right to your downward facing dog, maybe to a table, maybe one last flow here. Slowly with your breath. And hips down. Invitation to place some cushioning underneath your knees as you come up to stand on your knees here. Tuck your toes. Parallel thighs. So your knees are sit bone distance apart. Your thighs are like a number 11, fully parallel. Press the knees away from one another. Drop your tailbone. Draw your waistline back. And with hands to your hips, shoulders and elbows back. Now this may be plenty. Option number 2, imagine there's a thread at the center of the chest, lifting the chest, and then draw your shoulders back, but keep threading your front ribs in and continue to firm the abdomen. So imagine there's a zipper, zipping pubic bone to chest. Subtle work, but you really feel the stretch at the front of the body. Maybe if you can keep the hips right on top of the knees, if you can keep your core engaged. Now for me, I've got a long torso and short legs, so it's not a very big reach for my hands to reach the heels, but that is a lot. That is a lot. So there's no have to. You could place your hands like you're placing your hands in your back pocket and keep drawing shoulders and elbows back. Continue to zip pubic bone to navel. Continue to lift the chest. So find the version of camel, Ustrasana posture that feels right for you. But we never let go of control of core, lengthening of tailbone, lifting of chest. And then when you feel ready, core is super strong as you come out, and just pause standing at your knees. Palms open, receive, notice what that's like. And if this kind of flexion is okay for your knees, the invitation is to settle your hips down for a moment or two. If not, settle down in a way that feels better. And then we'll come for a bit of a seated breath technique, seated meditation before a moment or two of restoration of rest. So you might be in a chair, you might be propped up on bolsters, pillows. Find a seat that feels optimal in this moment. Palms up, gaze within. As you inhale, imagine that inhale is traveling up the length of your spine to the crown of your head. And as the inhale is traveling in that direction, it's lengthening. Keep that length awareness at the crown of the head as the exhale moves down the length of the spine. So that's the focus for the mind here. Inhale up the length of the spine. At the top of the inhale, you might retain the breath for a moment and let the awareness hover at the center of the crown of the head. And exhale, keep the length. Watch the breath slide back down to the tailbone. That's going to be the invitation for technique, breath technique to add here. Next time you inhale, let the inhale be strong. Lift the inhale all the way to the crown of the head, sip in a little bit more breath. You might retain that for a moment and then out of the mouth, let that go. And then just watch that softer, smoother breath continue to move up and down the length of the spine. might do that again as you inhale and send the breath up. The spine to the crown, biggest inhale, drinking a little bit more. Imagine holding it at the top of your head, holding your awareness there, and then big sigh, let that go. And then back to watching smoother, fluid breath. Slide up the length of the spine to the crown and slide back down. And mind is observing that. Let the mind continue to imagine that the breath is flowing up the length of the spine to the crown. And from the crown back down. One more really big breath in. Hold the awareness at the top of the head. Let it go. Notice the spaces after that breath technique. Notice if that breath technique is helpful for you to sink into a more peaceful, present, lighter mode. And then for the last few minutes of this practice, I invite you to reach for a pillow or your bolster and set it up so that you can recline back on it. And we can close with a restorative posture that is helping us to open up the front line of the body by scooching that bolster or the short edge of the pillow to the low back. Mindfully recline there, keeping the back of the neck long. Arms can be by your sides or anywhere. You could create Supta Baddha Konasana, and that's the soles of the feet together, knees bent, or knees could be together, feet a little bit further apart, or legs could be long. You could skip the bolster underneath the back line altogether and lie down for our last 4 minutes or so. Now, if you enjoyed the focal point of imagining the breath flowing up and down the spine, the invitation here is to completely let the breath go. And then to imagine that that light as a feather breath was sliding from the tips of the toes to the crown of the head as you inhale. And then flowing back down from crown to toes as you exhale. And that's the last instruction from me. The next time I speak, it will be to make our way out of this posture. And if you need to make that happen before then, beautiful. Bigger breath in. Long, slow breath out. If you had the knees wide, help them together. Small movements, open up to bigger stretches. Our second chance to wake up to a new day. Eventually rock off of your support if you haven't yet. And take your time coming up to your seat. No rush, no rush. When you do come up, maybe palms up. And receive these potential gifts of your practice. Is there potential for more brightness in the turning the mind towards those areas of brightness? The love that is available to be received in our lives, the comfort, the relative ease. Time, nourishment. What would you like to receive more of today? You could the hands just where they are, you could imagine that you're slowly lifting the hands, just so full of abundance and gifts, and take those hands to the heart. A deep bow to all that we appreciate in our lives today, this week, this month, the rest of this year. And appreciation to each other for creating even this digital space, appreciation for these practices, and appreciation for you. Thank you so much for joining me.